out there? How's everybody doing? Is everybody's favorite conservative in New York? And you are welcome to the Christopher Wright Show. And I got my special guest here, a good friend, a fellow patriot. You guys know him as Royale Dinero. You know, out here doing his thing. Welcome, brother. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you on as a guest.
I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me once again, and many, many more.
Yeah. This is the only
bro.
beginning, brother. You know how we get down, man. I told you, I want you to be a regular guest on the show. So you're always welcome on. You got a great point of view. You know what I mean? You know exactly what you're talking about. So I'm glad to have you on the show, man. But I just want to wish everybody out there who's listening as well, happy Mother's Day to all the patriots out there. I know how important it is to mothers out there. Very important day today. It's a very blessing to have a good mother. I had a good mother in my life. Unfortunately, a little personal story with me. I lost her when I was 20 years old to colon cancer, but she was my heart. She was my everything. She taught me so much. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. But she's an amazing woman. She's the one that taught me to be myself when I was young, and you're going through that point of, that stages of life, and you're trying to figure things out. And, there's times when you're young, you just want to fit in, you want to be part of the crowd, yada, yada, yada. But she's the one that told me to be yourself, think for yourself, be independent minded, and the rest will follow. The good people around you will follow. And she called that 100% correct. So may God bless her. Amazing woman, amazing patriot. How was your Mother's Day, though, brother?
Oh, it was pretty decent, man. Couldn't really do too much other than just spend a short amount of time because mine is still afraid of COVID. So, there wasn't a lot that we could do. So there was a lot that we could do, but there was a lot she wasn't willing to do. So, that's okay though, She'll wake up one day.
Yeah, one day she'll get there. She'll get there. We all got, leftists in our family, so we know how it goes, man. They all get there one day, man. It takes some time, in time. But, I want to first and foremost discuss New York City starting to open up. There's lots of businesses that have closed and tourism is dead pretty much. And our economy, it's going to take a while for it to get back to, pre-pandemic levels or pandemic levels, more like it, especially, if, what's with everything happened recently. But I want to reach out to you, and I want you to discuss the Florida economy and how it's doing, man. And like, how you guys in Florida? How you guys holding up?
We are doing just fine. We never really stopped, and so we've always been going strong and everything. And so we had like in the very, very beginning, I guess you could say, like we had like a little bit of like a shutdown. And I think that was just DeSantis just like, okay, we'll see where this goes and we'll see what's going on. But, like after it wasn't, he realized that it wasn't necessary. And I'm sure he never even wanted to do the shutdown during the little bit of the time that he did do it. But it was just, it was just, okay, we'll go ahead. We'll play along. So you can't say I don't care at all. But he was not going to just do like a full on like shutdown. And so we opened right back up as soon as he was just like, okay, you know what? Now I gave you that. I shut it down for a little bit, but you can't say that I didn't try to do anything. But these shutdowns have done nothing but just take people's jobs. So we're going to open back up. And, we never had a statewide mask mandate was never officially issued. So that was just different cities that were doing it, but a statewide mandate from the governor's desk never happened in Florida. It was never a statewide thing. So
no, I had a lot of respect for how Florida handled things because I tell people that who were familiar here in New York, when things were happening here, it got so crazy in New York. People, like, everybody was wearing masks. You couldn't go into grocery stores. You couldn't go into, everything was shut down. The street lights were off. And certain nights, the crime was going up like crazy. The area I lived at here in Brooklyn, the crime rate was going nuts. A couple people got shot. A young boy got killed in gang-related violence. Just a lot going on here in New York, and a lot of it had to do with the shutdown. And people were telling us here in New York, "Oh, Florida's crazy. They're got people walking around without masks on. They're gonna it's gonna spike." And CNN's like, "Oh my gosh, it's spiking. COVID's going crazy in Florida and all that."
How dare us?
Yeah, I know.
How dare us be free?
I know, right? What were you guys thinking? How dare you? But I bring that up because I loved it, man. To tell you the truth, I was down in Florida. I went down there twice during the whole pandemic situation happened when the quarantine was going on here. They had like round trip tickets for like $40 to go down to Florida. So I was like, shoot, like a good friend of mine invited me down there. They had like a nice like vacation spot they had rented out, and we had a great time. And this was like the spike of the COVID in Florida, but I was there, no mask, no gloves, no nothing, having a good time. I was going out to restaurants. They had bars there. We were hanging out. Nobody's wearing masks. Nobody's wearing gloves. Everybody's talking, just relaxing, having a good time, living the old normal, the right normal. And it was like, man, this is how America should be, man. So I had to get out of New York 3 times, twice to Florida, once to Georgia, just to kind of get my mind right, man, because it was just stressful living up here in New York.
Man, it's just so many people just being crazy, man. And you know me, I travel just like you do, man. And then when I go to these leftist areas and they're like, mask, 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 and then like you don't have it all. Can you pull your mask up? Can you pull it up? Can you pull it up? And then I get this one lady telling me she can't let me inside a movie theater without a mask. I said, well, I bought concessions and everything, so you're going to have to refund me. She brings me inside because she says I can't do the refund outside where the concession. I have to do it inside where the register is over by the food area. So she takes me over by concessions and does the refund, walks me inside. I said, you realize you just walked me inside just now, right? Like just a few more steps and I'll be in the theater that I came to. I'll be in the room that I came to get. And she's like, well, I mean, but you're getting ready to leave. I said, no, that's not. No, if according to your standard, I wasn't supposed to be able to even walk in. It doesn't matter that I turn around and leave. I wasn't supposed to walk in. So you already done let me walk in here without a mask. In addition to that, you are having me eat. You are bringing me to the concessions area. Now, if you're one person who cares so much about, you think I'm gonna spread COVID, why would you take me over to the concessions area where people's food is at?
Think about that. No, think about it. Seriously, folks, like this is like common sense here. And like in New York, we were doing things like in Manhattan, we go to restaurants. And this is when they finally opened up the restaurants, because for the longest, they didn't open up restaurants. And a lot of small businesses here, a lot of small businesses own restaurants, corner stores, bars, you name it, that are small business owned, fell during this whole situation. They are no longer here. The small business got affected the most in New York. And so when they finally opened up the businesses here, we would go to restaurants and they would have like lines. We had to wear a mask, and you had to come in with the mask on. You had the little temperature gauge. They checked with your eye and all this stuff. I'm like, it felt like some, I don't know what it was, man, like some futuristic, like you crazy, like technology ran to utopia kind of feeling, movies or something like that. And then
I know what you're talking about. Did it say your name on it when it scans your forehead? Did it say your name on it?
No, that's why I'm surprised it didn't. I'm surprised. I mean, we're getting there. The way to keep heading this way, we're going to be there.
Because I actually seen one that actually said your name. Like it scanned your forehead and then it said your name. Like that was creepy.
Wow. Now that's scary. That's scary. And see, that's something I didn't know if they were out. I thought you might have been joking, but I didn't say you were joking because I know how technology is. I know where we're heading. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case, man. And that's what it kind of felt like. That,
yeah, man.
Intrusion of your privacy. And, so we did all this checking and all stuff like that. And some places wanted you to write your name, your address. And I was like, of course, I didn't write the real name or address or nothing like that for that. I'll just give them some BS, like whatever, John Doe. And walk in. But then we had to wear the mask and sat down. And the thing is, once we sat down, you can take the mask off and you can eat. So I'm like, okay, so let me get this right. So when I'm sitting down eating and, I'm chewing food and mouth's opening and all this stuff like that, I can't pass COVID. No way. During that whole process, that's you can't be spread like this. What are you talking about?
COVID is nice to you while you're consuming food.
Oh, yes.
COVID is courteous because you're eating.
Yeah, and COVID's pretty smart. I'll give it that, because I remember when we were doing the Reopen New York rallies here in Brooklyn and Manhattan. A lot of the conservative groups here, like mine, the CRA, Conservative Republican Alliance. We did a Reopen New York rally, and it was like me and like 30 people, and they're like average age, 50 plus, this typical everyday Americans, mothers, grandmothers, grandparents, grandfathers, uncles, regular everyday people. And we did an event with like 30 people there, and they said like the SWAT team at Grand Army Plaza Park we were at, like we were like this huge threat. And like, in another event, somebody got arrested. It got really out of control and crazy. And I was helping out a lad from Barely Informed. Shout out to a lad, by the way. He reached out to me and said in the summertime, he said, hey, man, can you help me out with the camera work? My cameramen are afraid because of COVID. They don't want to work right now. So, of course, I was like, bro, I ain't afraid of no freaking COVID. No mask and no gloves, faith over fear all day. So he already knew he can call on me. So I came out, helped him out, he threw me a couple of bucks, shout out to him. And when I was doing recording, we were at a leftist event, and this is when Black Lives Matter first did their event in New York. And they literally had the whole Brooklyn Bridge covered with Black Lives Matter Antifa, man. And there was no social distancing. I'll say about 30, maybe 40% of them wearing masks. And I was sitting there watching, just recording for, helping out a lad, just looking at the situation. Though I'm thinking, like, how's the media going to portray this one? Like, we were just out here a week ago with 40 people, and they sent a SWAT team at us. How are they going to flip this one? And of course, the local news, the de Blasio, ran leftist news around here, came out and said, like, oh, at this Black Lives Matter event, COVID does not spread as much as it would at a MAGA event, because at a MAGA event, they try to say, like, we don't wear a mask as well as we should. So it spreads a lot easier, even though they had hundreds of people covering the bridge compared to 40 people in the park. Come on, people.
And idiots will believe him. That's the worst part. Idiots will believe what he said too.
Yeah, I know. And they do. And they follow they follow the propaganda, and they just, they just like freaking sheeple, man. A sheeple flock, man. And that's why I told you this again. I had to get out of New York 3 times during that, quarantine last year, because I was losing my mind, man. I was getting like cabin fever. They wouldn't let us. They just say stay in the house. All restaurants were closing down. Small businesses were getting closed down. Small business owners were panicking. That's why we had a record number of people leaving New York. A lot of people go down to Florida. So I'll keep you guys in my prayers. A lot of New Yorkers coming down there. So, because things couldn't hold up, man. And, and they just kept saying, they were just clapping for like postal workers and just doing stuff where I'm like watching. I'm like, what in the world are we doing here? Like, what is this? Like, why crime and everything going up? And you guys are talking about defunding the police at the same time. And when you defund the police, the people most affected are dispatchers, which are mainly Black women. And dispatchers used mainly by who?
They don't care about that.
Come on, man. Like, it makes no sense, man. So
they don't care about that.
They don't care about none of that, bro. But I thought Black Lives mattered, man. And I thought and I hear about it, keep hearing it all the time from mostly white people from Black Lives Matter, by the way. I keep hearing it from, because I tell people all the time, I did my Turn New York Red rally here in front of Times Square when, Commie de Blasio painted Black Lives Matter in front of Times Square. And then when we had a rally, Black Lives Matter Antifa showed up, and all I could see, the yellow to speak from, like, where are your Black people? There were no Black people with them. And they were all with us, though. We had Hispanics, we had Blacks, whites, Asians, LGBTQ, everybody on our side, man. And like all of New York was on our side. And, the way New York looks, not all of New York, but I'm saying like the general look of New York, where they have so many diverse people.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
We had that on our side. So, people don't realize that what's going on here, man. There's a MAGA movement happening even in New York, but it's getting just really stomped and trampled on by the leftist media and the freaking mobster governor Cuomo and our, Commie de Blasio mayor.
Yeah, man, people got to stop being scared too. That's another thing that like people keep saying that they want Antifa and BLM to stop, but like then when you want to go and stop them, then nobody wants to go join you. Well, and it's not that nobody wants to go join you, but the same ones who are talking don't want to go join you. Oh, well, I don't know, but then we need to be peaceful, and we just okay, well. Then you keep letting Antifa and BLM just run all over you then, I even said this before, man. I said 1,000 times like a broken freaking record, dude. Like if people stopped in the very beginning, if people were not afraid to wear their gear and they all wore it in large numbers and just went out to malls, went out anywhere, just in large numbers, Antifa and all of them, they would have backed off because they would have seen firsthand, you know what? We are the minority group and we need to cut this foolishness out, because they would have realized we can't step to them and start snatching MAGA hats off, because they would have known that stuff like that wasn't going to be tolerated, that they were outnumbered. They only doing what they're doing now, for one, because they're getting paid, and two, because they think that they are a majority and they're not a majority, and they need to be that needs to be understood, and it is not understood. And I'm not saying that violence needs to happen. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is less people need to be afraid. More and more people need to be bold enough to just wear their gear. When they see so many hats around and so many shirts around, they're gonna stop that crap. Because they're going to look and they're going to realize all of these people, nah, man, I can't just pick one or two out of the crowd. Because see, they only pick 1 or 2 out of the crowd because 1 or 2 is all that they see. But you see about 20, 30 people all across and hundreds of them. You ain't gonna pick 1 or 2 of them because you ain't gonna know which 1 or 2 you can try without the rest of them jumping on you. So you're gonna just leave everybody alone.
No, look, man, I tell you, we were talking about last night. We were just talking, man. We talk about what's going on in conservatism in the modern day world and everything like that. And one of the things we were talking about was the difference between the South and the North when it comes to how they handle the radical left and the Antifas and the Black Lives Matters of the world. I noticed. I told you when I was down there, I was visiting a friend. Shout out to my friend Quan Lene Green. She's a real patriot down there in Georgia. Her and her lovely family. So I was visiting them for Thanksgiving. And she had what she calls Friendsgiving, which is like the week before Thanksgiving, when she just invites a lot of her peers, friends of hers, to come together and have like a celebration the week before Thanksgiving. It was a great time. But while that time was going on, they had the Stop the Steal rally down in Georgia at the time. This was during when elections were still going on and everything like that, or elections were over, and we're going through the whole whatever you want to call that situation that happened. But we're going through the whole process, and they had to Stop the Steal event, and it was, Scott President was down there, and a couple other patriots were speaking down there. And when I came down to see the event, they had, we were doing our thing, and like almost every Trump event I go to, any MAGA event period I go to, what happened was eventually Antifa and Black Lives Matter showed up. And when I saw them, I like rolled my eyes. I'm going, well, here we go. The same old. Because in New York, it's guaranteed if you do anything that's pro-patriotic, guaranteed one of those groups are going to show up. You know what I mean? So when they showed up, I was going through like, okay, this is going to be like the rest of the event is us going back and forth with them. And I literally turned my head to look around at what's going on at the MAGA event. And when I turned back around, Antifa and Black Lives Matter were gone. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, where'd they go? I'm like, I thought this was going to be like a whole situation. We're going to have to, this back and forth. In New York, the cops kind of just stand back because they're told to stand down and just let's go back and forth at it. And it gets crazy sometimes. And it gets, I got a couple of recordings of things getting out of control. But none of that happened, man. And none of it happened and didn't get out of control at all like that. And the main reason, because the South, dudes down there were alphas. They had the right to carry. So they're you walk around, you can see they had their weapons on them, and they were, very protected, holding it down. And they weren't acting stupid, nothing like that, acting foolish with the weapons or nothing like that. They were just there like they had the right to do. You had the right to carry. So they used it.
Yeah.
And Antifa and BLM had nothing to do or nothing to say, man. And I noticed anytime you get in situations where they're equally matched in any kind of way, they always back down.
Oh, every single time, man. And like in Florida, they'll talk that trash too, but they know. And it's like, I told you about, the girls, on in International Drive, I'm down here, in Orlando. One of the girls looked like she was gonna come and step to me. She started walking towards me with a purpose, and I was just like, oh shit. I was like, I carry. And she immediately changed her tone. She was still turning up at me, but she stopped walking. And so she well, you don't want coming over here. It was like it went from such and such and such and cussing me out and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna slap yo so and so to, well, you don't want coming over here. It's like, wait a minute, what happened to the threats? Because now you're playing the victim and you switched it up real fast. She switched it up real fast, and I was just like, hey, hold on. she was like, and it was like, and then that's when one of her friends came over and she grabbed her by the arm and she was like, girl, let's go, get out, move. Because they knew, and I hate to put it on race, but black ratchet chicks, they know when they come across another black, like, you know what? Because see, he's starting to talk a little crazy, like he one of us. Like I don't know if he bluffing. He might not be about that life. He might be about. Let's just, let's go ahead and just leave him alone. And you know what? In most cases, I don't tell people that I carry. In most cases, it's not proper gun etiquette to tell people that you carry. But I was in the heat of the moment. I was just like, no. Don't even come over here. And was I gonna use on her? No, I really wasn't. I'm not gonna just I'm not gonna pull a weapon out just because somebody just got some stupid words to say, and especially not on a female, not unless it's really truly necessary. But the reason why I said, I guess, was just in the moment, and I was just like, she need to leave me alone. So I just said the first thing that came to mind to make her leave me alone.
No, man. I trust me, man. I don't blame you, man. Like, that's the whole reason. One of the reasons why we have the right to carry is just because, there's people out there who rather like keep that gun concealed at all times and never have to ever pull it out. But, in case, like, the worst case scenario situation where you have to defend yourself, it's nothing wrong with that. And you see what's going on around the entire country with this Antifa and Black Lives Matter thing, man. They're burning down businesses, attacking elderly people, in some cases murdering people. I know a young lady, Beverly Beatty, who was attacked in D.C. by Black Lives Matter and stabbed multiple times.
Man, she got stabbed, didn't she?
She got stabbed multiple times. And the Proud Boys, matter of fact, are the ones that had to come and protect her. If they weren't there to protect her, who knows what could have, God forbid, what could have happened to her if they weren't there. And of course, the media didn't want to cover that. They didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But, a couple of them got stabbed, protecting her in the process. But of course, they don't want to talk about that. So that is the issue we're having so much with the mainstream media, is they are really covering up a lot of situations. Like I said, there was a situation here in Manhattan I brought up where the Proud Boys and Antifa got in a fight, and I recorded and shared on Facebook Live. They banned my account for 30 days. They took BuzzFeed took my video. They cut me out of it. They said a white supremacist group attacks innocent anti-fascists in Manhattan, and they tried to flip the whole story around. And I had to put my video out there on YouTube and get the truth out there, and it shocked a lot of people. And that was, to me, Andrew Cuomo trying to use that situation to try to make the Proud Boys look like Trump's KKK, and like, oh, look, he's from New York, and look what's happening in New York. We got white supremacists here now after his presidency. So it was all politically planned, all this crazy stuff they got set up. But, the truth, thank goodness, got out because
it's like they didn't have the KKK, so they had to create it. Because they had been saying it for so long with no proof. So they was just like, we gotta show some receipts behind this and get the people really, really scared. And then they found they found a little story, to what's the word, manipulate. That's what these people do, man. All they do is manipulate stories. They manipulate, they cross-edit things out. Forget about the details, nothing to see here. Just look at this one officer tackling this one black guy. Don't worry about what he did in order to get tackled in the first place. Don't worry about if he shot a K9 dog or not. Don't worry about if he was trying to steal a car. Don't worry about if one girl was trying to stab another girl. Don't worry about all of that. Just the officer. Oh man, and then I've heard some of the worst things, because when I even try to tell people straight up, I'm like, do you see the scenario that's happening? And then they'll be like, yeah, I see the scenario, but well, did the officer have to kill him? Maybe they could have shot him in the leg. Like, shot him in the leg like he had a gun in his hand. So yeah, shoot him in the leg. I've seen plenty of cases where people have gotten shot, and because they weren't dead, they kept on raising the gun, even though they got shot. They were still shooting, because you got some people just got that will and determination. And I'm like, even though they got a bullet in them, like, they still gonna keep shooting. Like, you got to shoot until they drop that weapon. And if they don't drop that weapon until there's no breath in their body, well, that was on them, because they should have dropped the weapon. But don't get mad at the officer for doing every single thing they can to save lives, No,
I totally agree with you on that. And people don't realize, a lot of times, like George Floyd, for example, I mean, he was high on meth. When he did the blood work after it was all said and done and found out they had meth in his system. People like that, when they're high on drugs like that, they can take a bullet or two sometimes. So, they can take a bullet and keep coming at you and keep running. And cops know this. And because, and trust me, when you're an officer, especially longer than 2 or 3, 4 years, you've seen some things already in that time frame. So if you've been there even longer, you've seen quite a bit. So you're not a person that is somebody that's like, thinks like, oh, let me just, this one tactic should just take this whole, criminal down, and they should be not able to come back after I do this one thing. And it's like, you've been around for a while. You see, like, hey, man, you don't know who you're dealing with a lot of times. You don't know who these people. You like some people can be veterans. You don't know who you're dealing with, man. And so, they're not going to play softball with these people. So, I mean, I just look at these situations, and people always want to say, oh, these racist police are out here doing this, that, and the third, and they're always out to kill the black people. And I'm like, if you look at the odds, you have more of a chance as a black person getting killed by an elderly neighbor than you do a white police officer. Like, you know, your elderly black neighbor than you do a white police officer, if you look at the numbers. And there's more white people in a year last year who were killed unarmed by police officers than there were black people. So if you add all these numbers up, if you really put it out there and be realistic, you would know like this is not the biggest issue in the black community. This is not what we should be focusing on. I know what the biggest issue in my opinion is, and that's not having fathers in the household. If that to me was there at the beginning of the jump, not just random dudes, I mean real fathers, legit good dads. If they were in the black community in the house like they should be right now, at the rate they were in the 30s, you would see a lot of this criminal activity, this crime that's happening. You would see a lot of it long gone if that was the case.
Yeah, man, and that's another thing. Like, I was watching I was watching a podcast on Instagram like about 2 weeks ago or so, and the guy was mentioning exactly what you mentioned. You know, that white people are killed more. That there's more white people on food stamps, and the excuse that the BLM woke guy gave him, well, there's more white people in population, so of course it would be more. It's like, no. But they don't. Okay, but the numbers don't match when it comes to the crimes. So they outnumber us in population, but they don't outnumber us in the crimes. So try again. You know, with that, you know, it's like they want to use it's more of them, so I guess more of them would get no, because if that was the case, then it would be the same for every situation. And it's not the same for every situation. There's more white people, but there's more black people playing football and basketball than white people. I'm just saying, you know, it's like there's like when you want to talk about the amount of people who are getting pulled over, a lot of you got white people who live in the hood too. You know, they like to conveniently leave that one out, but you got a lot of white people who live in the hood too. You got more and more black people who have, and see, this is why I say it's like Obama did nothing but give a cakewalk to black people as far as like colleges and stuff like that. Do you know the thing? Do you know the scholarships that you could qualify for just because you black? You know the amount that you could qualify for just for being black. You know, there's those things that are for women, pregnant women, handicapped, et cetera, et cetera. If you're in a wheelchair, if you lost a leg, and I'm not even just making stuff up. Like those are like actual scholarships. Like you could actually get scholarships for being handicapped. I found out because I actually had a professor who she has a peg leg, and she said, and this is a white lady, and she said I was dead broke. And she said, I was on just about every government assistance you could possibly be on. She said, I was on just about every scholarship that you could possibly qualify for. She said there was one for women. There was one for being a mother. There was another one for being a single mother. There was another one for being handicapped because she had a car accident. There was another one for there was another one that she qualified for just for already being on government assistance and showing that she could not provide for herself. So not only was she on government assistance, she got another scholarship and extra money off college because she was on welfare. So it's like,
geez, it's a lot of welfare. A lot of government.
There's like there was one program after the other, but then there's all this stuff for black people too. And not that I'm knocking that, but it's like you can't possibly tell. What is your excuse? Because you got, I mean, at Harvard, bro, did they not, Chris? Tell me if I'm wrong. Call me a liar. Did they not ask for? Did they not request and get it approved to have their own graduation separate from white people?
Yep,
didn't that happen?
Official. That is officially, that's what happened, man. The segregation,
they granted it.
They granted it, and if people don't see how we are going backwards in time by letting this stuff like this happen, this is the stuff that happened when my dad was in elementary school, not even when he was in college. This is when my dad was in elementary school, my grandfather's generation more than my dad's generation. And it was insane hearing about that from him back as a kid growing up, and he didn't tell me till I got older, till I was mature enough to handle the situation and know like the true history of America and blacks in America and everything like that. And we are going that same direction. It's just the only thing is the Democratic Party has switched the freaking their pawns. They had whites as pawns back then doing their crazy foolishness against blacks, and now they got blacks doing these foolish, crazy things, attacks against whites. And it's like, and I remember as a young person looking at the history of America, and when I saw the history of past, and there's no country has a pretty past, but when I learned about that past in America, I always say to myself, if I was around, I always put myself in people's shoes. I always said, if I was in those people's shoes back then, if I was in white people's shoes back then, I'd like to think I would be smart enough to know that like black people back then weren't animals, that they were human beings, they're fellow citizens like me. And I would have been like part of the white people that were marching the civil rights movement, helping out blacks, or the ones who were, the Quakers, like in the Underground Railroad, helping free black slaves. I would like to think I would be that part of history if I was in that role back then. And now I'm in a situation where it's happening in my generation, but it's my people doing it. So I'm like, I definitely won't be a part of this. Like I said, I always said, what if I was around back then, I definitely wouldn't be a part of it. But now that I'm in a situation where I really have to say, definitely I want nothing to do with this when it comes to the radical left and their behavior and the identity politics that they're bringing. And funny that you brought up Obama earlier too, because I want to speak about Obama. I want to kind of get your thoughts on Obama, or whatever you want to call him, or freaking, oh my gosh, so many nicknames I can call him, man. But I kind of want to see where were you at? Because a lot of blacks, on the left or right, who are now blacks who are now conservatives. We all have interesting paths when it comes to Obama when he got elected. Where were you when it came to his election? Like when he got elected, were you supportive? Like, kind of tell me like your situation.
Well, man, when he was coming up and everything, and I didn't trust any politician by the time that Obama came around. I hadn't trusted any politician because I didn't trust Bush before him. I didn't trust Clinton. I didn't care if they were Democrat or Republican. I didn't trust any of them politicians. I thought it was all dirty. I wanted nothing to do with politics. And then I listened to Obama and I heard him do that talk. Now, see, the thing about it was, it was so funny because I had my friends who, since I was not engaged, I had friends who were engaged. And I guess because they were engaged, they were seeing a different side of some people, meaning like they were seeing the races being pitted against each other. I didn't see that because I wasn't engaged in the politics, so I didn't care. But I didn't know that there was like this, like, oh, you racist if you don't vote for Obama, or if you got a problem with him, like, oh, like I didn't even know that was even going on at the time. And I remember my friend Shelby, she was in school at the time, and she was one of my closest friends at the time, and she was just like, hey, listen, you know me for always being, just straightforward, and I just always just tell it like it is. So I'm gonna just tell you, I don't really know how you feel about this, but I got these pins. They got the election thing going on, and I really don't want Barack Obama in office. And I got these No Obama pins, and you can wear them on your shirt. If you want one, you can have it. If you don't want it, then I don't really want to know your opinion. If you don't like them, please don't be going off of me. But I got these No Obama pins. I got to give them out if you want one. I say, yeah, I will wear one because I don't like him either. I was like, but the thing, and she was like, oh, so you rocking for McCain? No, I'm not rocking for McCain, but I don't like Obama either. I don't like none of them. But if you got a No Obama pin, then I will rock that, because I think I was just so much more angry with Obama simply because of the fact that I said this dude is being that typical. He's being what I've grown up to know as the black con man, the one that comes up in the world a little bit. He don't come up in the world a whole lot, but he comes up a little bit. Just, he's not exactly a millionaire, but he's 100,000 there, and you really ain't got that kind of money either. So you kind of listen to him because he's just a little bit bigger, than you, and he always wearing the suits, and he got the Rolls Royce, and you don't have one. And so it's like, he may not be the millionaire, but he's the thousandaire that you still can't touch. So you still kind of bow to him a little bit. and that's who he resembled of, like the loan sharks, and I know, you being out there in New York, I know, all about the loan sharks, the independent loan sharks, they come, like the one, who came over there, in the barber shop. You remember barbershop, kind of like him.
Selling purses and knockoff purses and wallets and everything else. And
there you go.
Trying to hook you up with.
So it was like, by the time he came up and he was talking about change, and I said, I can't get with that, man. I said, and the worst part about it was, like, I couldn't prove it to people. They was like, well, why don't you like him? I was like, I just don't. And they're like, so you don't want to support one of your own people? I was like, it's not even about that. It's just I don't trust the guy. Like, he seems like he has an agenda, and it doesn't seem like it's a good one. It was just a feeling. And then on top of that, having people in business, because as an entrepreneur, right? A real entrepreneur is because lots of people say that they're entrepreneurs. A real entrepreneur is involved in several different business ventures. And a real entrepreneur, especially in your beginning phases, for the people out there, an entrepreneur in his or her beginning phases partners with a lot of different people, and it's experimenting with a lot of different businesses, a lot of different ventures, because you're trying to find where you fit. You know what I mean? And an entrepreneur, any entrepreneur, a real one, doesn't just fit in just one category. You fit in several different ones, but you got to step into those industries and see where you fit, where you may not fit. And then it's also learning lessons on who to get around, what signs to look for in the future, so you don't waste more time and more money. Invest in time and money you could always get back, but time you never will. And those are learning lessons also. So coming up, I got with guys who said that they were, that they worked in media, and media is still something that I do. But I got guys who said that they had connections here. I got with guys who started their own clothing companies, Chris. One guy was actually out of New York and moved to Florida, is what happens. And so, the thing about it is, it's like I've worked with different people who claim, hey man, like I worked with a guy, bro, and trust me, this is all relative to the topic. I worked with a guy who had his own clothing company. He had, bro, a storage unit filled to the ceiling with clothes, like in boxes and lanyards and bracelets and everything, hats, everything with his logo on it. Okay. And it's like, bro, if you start marketing this stuff, you can be you could be in the high thousands, like almost overnight. You start selling this stuff. Cause I mean, like the clothes were like good quality, like great quality, bro. I'm so serious. As much as I can't stand the guy because of how bad of a business guy he is, he had a good idea and he had great quality clothes. So the bad part about it was he was just lackadaisical. He had, it was one of those guys who had $1 million idea, but never executed a game plan to go forward in it. And he always had bad people around him. And then he was a bad guy himself. He was just he was just lip service. It's like, man, you could go somewhere with this. But through being with guys like that, through listening to things he said, I mean, the guy would put on meetings, right? His name was Anthony. Guy would have meetings, powerful meetings, Chris. I'm telling you, powerful. I mean, you come out that meeting feeling like you could just run through a whole bunch of brick walls, man. You feel like you could conquer the world. But unfortunately, he didn't back up the words that, his actions did not align with those powerful words, unfortunately. So, by the time a guy like Obama comes around, it's like, I've seen you before. I've seen you before. Yeah. I've seen you say what you're gonna do for the people. I've seen your kind who say you're gonna get in the community, you're gonna tackle this problem, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and you sound so good. And man, like you hitting my soul with your words.
Yeah, it's funny.
Wait a minute,
because I
what's wrong with you?
No, I hear you, man. Because I've ran into people like that, very similar in sales most of my life. You do sales long enough. Trust me, you see those kind of people, man. They are good. They're good at talking. a good game. They got, they got the get the gab. And
Oh
look,
my God.
I do good when I do sales, but what I do is I make sure anytime I've done sales, I try to sell a good product, because then I don't feel like I'm lying to you. I'm just being honest, telling you about the product, explaining what it does. This product sells itself.
Yeah.
That's saying. So that's with me, how I done sales. So I don't seem like the dirty, greasy haired car salesman. But I've been around those guys. I've been those guys as managers, as all the kinds, as
Oh
owners
Lord.
of places. So I've seen them. I know they act. They go in there, like I said, they'll just do a meeting and turn it upside down. You by the time they're done speaking, you're ready to run, like I said, run through the wall, and just fly through the sky and go to your first job and just fly there. But when it comes to the payday, that's when it gets real. And then all of a sudden they're not there, nowhere in sight. There's no meeting being held, no morning talk, nothing. It's just like, where's this guy at all of a sudden? And it's like but that's because it's time for him to be a man of his word, and he's nowhere to be seen. And that to me is Obama all day long. And I respect you for noticing about that at the beginning, because I ain't gonna lie. I mean, at that time I was in sales for a bit of time, and I knew what that would look like. But with Obama, when he first got elected, I missed it, because I did get sucked up into the whole the whole first black president thing, not because I'm in identity politics. It's just because it was a fact that, he seemed like
it was historic.
Yeah, it was historic. He seemed like a good person. He carried himself well, all the good things that were like, okay, this guy's not out here acting crazy, being wild, acting hood or nothing like that. Yo, yeah, vote for me. No, it was, okay. You seem respectful. And if you look at a lot of his policies that he was running,
that's what they did, Chris.
That's the thing. Unless you look at his policies that he was campaigning on, a lot of his policies he was campaigning on in 2008 is what Trump was campaigning on in 2016. But the difference is, when Trump got elected, he became a man of his word, unlike Obama. Big difference there. Yeah. So that was the big difference. And see, but with Obama, I got sucked into it. I campaigned for him, with door to door, all that good stuff like that. But I noticed in about 3 years into his first term that he was full of it, because I saw a lot of the policies he was running on. Because I was into politics back then. I was a Democrat. That's why I can school Democrats so bad, because they don't realize that when I was a Democrat, I was more of a Democrat than they were. So, like
I was one of you, so I already know the game.
I already know you inside out, bro. Let me tell you about yourself. You probably noticed about yourself. I mean, that's where I'm coming from. So, that's where I was when I was a Democrat. But when I follow Obama, everything, his policies, everything he's running on, I was like, all right, I got your back, man. Let's do this. And then he came out and said, oh, well, I'm trying to do everything. But look, these Republicans, man, I need the House. I need the Senate. I can't do nothing. They're all against me. I can't get one Republican on my side. They don't want to be bipartisanship at all. It's all their fault, yada, yada, yada. I was like, all right. So we went out there. I campaigned in the midterms. We got the House and the Senate to become Democrats. So we gave them the House and the Senate. Then what is okay? At that time, I wanted universal health care. Not now, but I was young, naive. I wanted universal health care. He promised that if you get the House and the Senate, he'll give us universal health care. We got him the House and the Senate. Time went by, and what did he give us? Obamacare. And all Obamacare did for me was, a single male with no kids, was take away half my tax return when I was in between work. I couldn't have insurance for a couple months.
Bro. Same here. Same here.
And once that happened, I was like, Obama, I am through with you, man. Not only did you lie about your policies, but you lied about coming out and actually giving us universal health care on top. You said you're going to guarantee to go and do that. And you said you give us a thing called Obamacare, which is horrible. It's cost an arm and a leg. If you're in between work, I looked at how much Obamacare costs. It's like $500, $600 a month for a plan. And I'm like, how's somebody supposed to afford this when they're in between work? That's the whole point about being between work. Right. You can't afford healthcare. You need assistance, proper assistance. And that was supposed to be
that was the whole point.
Care. But we said we got Obamacare. So it was a big ripoff.
So that was the whole point. It was draining the family. It was draining our funds, man. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right. No, it was. And it was draining our funds. And it just showed you to have what kind of manipulator of a politician that Obama was. So that's why in 2012, I was already, for the first time, I was looking at Herman Cain and Ron Paul and the Republican side of things, because I'm like, and I honestly wish Herman Cain would have got elected, looking back at it, because to me, he was kind of like a black Trump in a way, because he was like business first. He had his pizza place, he had a $9.99 marketing. He had that little deal. He had, great campaigning. He had good ads. He seemed like a down to earth, wholesome person. And he the media came and attacked him. They sent the Me Too movement before Me Too to get him.
That wasn't because he wasn't in the plan. And they needed it to be as smooth and easy for Obama as possible. So that's why they said, Romney, you're up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Bring on Mittens. Because, Mittens is just a, stereotypical RINO Republican, freaking just white picket fence, just plain Jane. Like there's nothing about Mitt Romney that's nothing about him that stands out. Boring,
Horrible.
just boring, extremely. Just
I can't wait till Utah votes him out next year. I can't wait till Utah votes him out next year. And you know what? He knows he's done too. He knows he's done. And you know, that's the thing, man. He's such a disgrace, man. Oh God, man, I can't even say his name half the time just because it disgusts me. But that dude, that's why they push Herman Cain out, because they're like, no, he is not. No, we cannot even leave this to chance that it might be. But and to be honest with you, even if it had been, they would have cheated anyway, like they've been doing. So they would have cheated anyways, but they just knew that like it wasn't gonna be all that much believable with Barack, because you had black people who was coming out against him too, you know, and you had people in Chicago who was coming out against him more specifically. So you had a bunch of people in Chicago who was like, bro, nah, I ain't voting for him a second time. And they suppressed that. They suppressed those videos in the media, but you have black people who said, no, he the last time he was senator here, and he was supposed to be our boy, and he just shamed Chicago. And they're like, no, we are not going to vote for him. You had, and these weren't guys who talk like you and I or anything, or dress like you and I. These were guys who was dressing like, you know, like street dudes. So you talking about guys in the ghetto, right? They saying they wasn't voting for Obama second time, you know? And so it's like,
definitely didn't want that coming out.
Yeah. But then I try to tell people that, well, that didn't happen. I said, what do you mean that didn't happen? It went viral because the video got millions of views. Well, I didn't see it. So then I showed them to it. Well, how come I never seen this before? I don't know, bro, but
you tell me.
I don't know.
I mean, CNN, I don't know. I talked to, you know, your left mainstream media news network, you know what I mean? That's probably where you need to start, you know, and that's, you know, that's.
But I wanted to touch on something, because you said something earlier when you said that Obama was the, you know, he wasn't ghetto. He spoke classy. He dressed right. You know, he had a clean cut, clean look, all that kind of stuff. They've done this to the black community before. Maybe not with presidents, but they have done this to the black community before. They'll get somebody black. See, what they'll do is they will condemn the thug culture and the gangster culture, right? And then they will present us with a new, with like a relief. Oh, hey, here's a black person who speaks well. Here's a black person who don't sag his fans. Here's a black person who dresses well and speaks well. He got him a clean cut. He drive a nice car. Here you go, black people. Y'all follow him. But the thing is, and there's not that is anything wrong with that. You know, in theory, there's nothing wrong with that. But the way they were doing it was they were doing it as an agenda. And they've done that, what they did with Barack, they've done that with other people who they tried to make our heroes before. And they tried to make our heroes by showing us guys who, you know, was clean cut and dressing in suits and everything. And okay. And it's like, instead of allowing us to choose our own heroes, they wanted to choose our heroes for us, and they want to tell us who to follow, you know? And you know, so they wanted us following a certain kind of style, a certain, you know, it was like, you know, it was always an agenda. And so that's why I saw Obama as I was like, he gonna try to come through. And I already knew what people were gonna say about him. Hey, black man dressing in a suit, got a college degree from Harvard. I said, he gonna ride that horse to the ground. I knew he was. And when Gillum came out, before I heard a word out of his mouth, I said, he gonna be the same way. I said, this guy gonna speak perfectly. I told my friend, I said, watch him speak perfectly. He gonna, I said, this dude gonna speak like an angel. And I bet you he gonna use this. Well, I'm an intelligent black man, and I know that they don't like that. And what did he do? His first debate was Ron DeSantis. Before the debate even really got to the meat of it, one of the first words out of his mouth. Well, I know that Mr. DeSantis is not used to dealing with the black man who was very well educated, but I am educated, Mr. Seller. Here you go. Here you go. I knew it. I knew it. You know,
pull that old rusty, dried up card out and use it again and again. Yeah, he was a complete joke, man. Like by the time he came around, with Obama, I think he caught me off guard because he, like I said, I know history pretty well. My parents told me about Jesse Jackson. My mom always told me, don't trust Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. So my parents, when I was a kid, dude. I knew about them.
Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton contributed to Martin Luther King's death. I'm sorry. Oops. Yeah, so social media don't want me saying that.
Yeah. Don't put that out there. You don't get banned on Facebook permanently banned for that. You know, I mean, they don't like that kind of talk. But let's talk about it, man. You know what I mean? And,
my bad, though. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. It's all good. And, so I kind of had an idea about these kind of, these identity politic type of politicians for quite a bit of time. But I give Obama at first, he didn't play that at all. He played the whole, I'm here to unite. I'm like the Martin Luther King reincarnated kind of thing. And that's the vibe he went with. But then when he got into power, that's when he went straight to division. And he's the one that he's the one that brought Black Lives Matter to the White House. I remember the images when he first brought him to the White House, and that was his second term. I thought he was nuts. I was like, man, what are you doing, man? Like, because I already knew even back then, Black Lives Matter was trouble. Started by three communists, freezing crazy LGBT lesbians, whatever man they are, man. It doesn't matter what their sexual orientation is, but I'm just telling who they are. And I just,
I understand.
It's all a mile away, man. And I'm like, he's inviting this group to the White House, and that is going to tell people, because already back then they were looting, rioting, getting in fights, getting physical altercations with people. I'm like, that's
already doing it then, man.
All right, yeah. So that they said that all this is going to do is pretty much tell them that what they're doing is okay. Like, you were confirming what their crazy radical actions as being okay as a president, invite them to the White House. And then they're trying to do the same thing with us and say, oh, the MAGA movement, they're local terrorists and all this stuff like that. Like, dude, I'm like, we don't go around burning down buildings, rioting, looting, and doing all these things, knocking out elderly people, attacking Asian people and stuff like that on trains, like they're doing in New York right now. With this whole thing with I don't know what that's going on with that, but there's this Black Lives Matter, people just attacking Asians all over the place around New York. So, it's like there's no comparison with us.
But they didn't care about Stop Asian Hate then.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't want to hear about none of that then. But this is the thing, man. This is unfortunately what the left has brought in. This is what radical left behavior is. But unfortunately, all we do when it comes to blame, we just try to say everything's Trump's fault. It's MAGA supporters, this, that, and the third. And, this is unfortunate, but this is kind of what we're dealing with right now. But, I want to kind of get to more onto like what's going on in the political level locally. I want to kind of get your 2 cents of how you feel about your governor down there, Ron DeSantis. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I kind of want to touch back on, how you feel. You're a Floridian, so firsthand. What's your stance on him as a governor and how he's been doing?
Oh, he's great. He's the best we've had. I mean, the man really has looked out for Florida. He looks out for the citizens. He's really like a people's person. And if you don't know who Bobby and Kiyan Michael are, you should look them up. They're very good friends of mine. I call them like my spiritual parents. But
my friend Quan, my spiritual sister, so I knew that connection.
Yeah. So they met with DeSantis. Well, just to give you a backstory, their son Brandon died at the hands of an illegal immigrant.
Wow.
Back in 2007, he went to go and cash his check and got in a car accident. He was cashing his check on his break, and then got in a car accident. And the guy who got in a car accident, was an illegal immigrant. I mean, the guy didn't hit him on purpose, but he still hit him. And that's what happened. And that guy had been deported twice already beforehand. And then from 2007 to 2019, when Ron got inaugurated, nobody sought justice for Bobby and Kiyan. Nobody. Rick Scott, who was the governor then, he got nothing, but he never cared about reaching out to them. They reached out to Marco Rubio, who also rejected to meet them, and he didn't care about any of the angel parents. It wasn't until DeSantis got inaugurated and he wanted to see the angel families, and they were they were of the first who he saw. And he actually has a relationship with them now, which is pretty cool. And he told them then, he said he said, they even talk about the story. You should actually have them on your show at one point, because the way that Kayan tells the story, she will tell you, like, just, she can express it better than I can. But she says when they were telling DeSantis of the story of their, of their son, and how they received no justice, tried to reach out to sheriffs, and the guy went to jail, but he got 2 years, and then they released him right back.
That's insane.
They didn't deport him. They released him. They released him right back. And so Rob was like, no, that's not going to happen again. But they said you could see the look in his eyes, like he was about to burst into tears, because he was just so upset. And they said that his face was getting red because he was just getting so emotional about it. And even though this situation at that particular point was 12 years old now, he was just that y'all went through this whole time and received no justice, and he assured them that's not going to happen again, and he started working with them, and he started so when he banned sanctuary cities, he made sure that his office gave them a call, and they brought them over, to the state capitol, in Tallahassee, on the day that he signed the order, saying that, well, for one, he banned sanctuary cities in our state, and he said that that all organizations that are operated in Florida have to use E-Verify in order to screen all of their employees. So, to make sure that they actually are on the books, they are a legal citizen of Florida, and all those things. So he did those things, and they said when they walked in the room, he was talking to politicians who were around him. And the moment that they, who are like you and I, walked into the room, he literally shut the other politicians down and started engaging with them. Wow. Because he's like a people person, man. Like he doesn't like the politics. And there's many more stories like that from other people who know him, who have said, dude, he does not like hanging around the politicians. He actually hates the politics of everything. He's just not that kind of guy. He doesn't like the politics. He doesn't like being around the people. He likes being around us, which is why over the past few weeks you've seen him visiting restaurants and pubs, and he went over to the beach. He does stuff like that because he want to be out with the people. He doesn't like all of that politics stuff. He's not really about that. He may do a fundraiser here and there because that's just what he has to do as governor and stuff, but he doesn't like being exclusive to politics. He doesn't want to be one of those politicians that's exclusive from the people and you got to go through so many hurdles in order to get to him. He wants to be as accessible. You know what I mean? So he wants the people to say, hey, I'm not the big bad. And that actually shows you that he truly cares. And where the media, and it's actually a good marketing strategy, because where the media will try to paint him in a bad light, the fact that he keeps going around the people are getting to know who he is themselves. He's showing the people, hey man, what other governor is coming out here amongst the people like this?
That sounds like
a few of them will do it every now and again, but he does it consistently.
That sounds like a familiar strategy. I think I heard it somewhere about 4 years ago that somebody who was running for a position in politics kind of had a similar strategy, going to the people first. I think that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's the way to go, man.
That kind of leads me to the perfect way to lead to my next topic I want to talk about, which is: do you think DeSantis would be a good running mate for Trump in 2024, or should he be a presidential candidate instead?
So this is why I don't see that happening. This is why, because he has a second governor's term next year in 2022. He gets elected. I'm sorry, which he will. Then he would be inaugurated in 2023, January 2023. I don't see him leaving a year later. Stranger things have happened, but I just don't see him leaving a year later. But that's me. I don't think he's gonna leave. I think he's gonna see Florida out first, and then, you know, and after he's done with his whole two terms in Florida, we got some bad people who are hoping that he leaves because they want to replace him. And we got some bad people, man. Our commissioner of agriculture, pay attention to who's running for your commissioner of agriculture, Chris, because our commissioner of agriculture, Nikki Freed, that's her name. Her face. There's a sticker on every single gas pump in the state of Florida with her face on it. And I'm going to say all of this without cussing because you don't like that on your show. So I'm going to respect that. But you see her name, you see her face, and you just like, because the thing about it is she is very, very socialist. She hates the farmers here. She affects a lot of the pricing here in our state. She was the one last year when the riots started happening in all these other states and everything. And, you know, people were trying to stock up on weapons and bullets, you know, just in case, because you never know, right? And she tried to put a halt to the selling of ammunition. She tried to place a block where Floridians could not.
And I was like, what the heck is going on down there in Florida? Like, what? Because I thought you guys had it like, you know.
That was our commissioner of agriculture, man. She is a word I'm not going to say here, but you get the point. And nobody likes her here. Well, I'm not going to say nobody, you know, the people who think like her do. But the thing is, she's talking about running for governor next year. Is like, we definitely can't get you up in there. Because the thing about it is, she's not able to do the unconstitutional things that she's trying to pull, simply because we have a pro Second Amendment, pro American, pro Florida, not only governor, but a attorney general. And our attorney general is right too. And our attorney general has reminded Nikki, you can't just stop the citizens from buying ammunition, and you can't stop the gun stores from selling them. You got to have literal reasonable cause. And the reason she put it under, which was COVID, was not a reasonable cause, but because she put the order in, and people, and she put it in as like an immediate halt, people halted, but to undo it was like also a process too. So it was like, even though it's like, hey, she actually can't do this, she has no legitimate rights to do it, there has to be certain grounds that she has. Those grounds she did not have. She tried to put it on COVID, and it's like, you can't put that on COVID, especially when the governor is already opening everything up. So you can't say that they can't. No, you can't do that. You know, it's a contradiction of what the governor's doing with opening up everything. And now you're trying to say, well, we got to stop the sale. No, you can't. So, yeah, she is a bit of a problem, man. I will tell anybody who's listening, please pay attention to who your commissioner of agriculture is. Pay attention to who's running for commissioner of agriculture. If it's the same person, look at the things that they have done, because a lot of your problems around you are not always your governor, and they're not always your attorney general. A lot of that stuff has to do with your commissioner of agriculture. Look up what a commissioner of agriculture can do, and look up what around you may be messed up in your city, in your state, and then a lot of things can be tracked right back to the commissioner of agriculture, a position that is not highly promoted. So a snake can just slither right on in there. You wouldn't even know it. Literally. She got in because she's a female. Most people voted for her simply because she was a female. Most people didn't even know what she was doing. I didn't. I was so zeroed in on the governor's race that I didn't even know who Nikki Freed was. I didn't even know commissioner of agriculture. That's a thing. Let me just this guy's a Republican. I'll check that name, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I fought myself. I should have been just as educated on that as I was on the governor. So that was on me, you know.
Wow. See, that's a lot of these politicians sneak in there. They're like this, like snakes. Like they act like snakes. They move like snakes. They got, they get into positions in so many different ways. And so it's a lot to it, man. And I'm glad you brought that up, because people around the country need to hear that. That's important information, because that's where we're kind of going with the Turn New York Red movement. Is we are trying to get people on a local level involved in politics, local state committee positions, get them in there, because a lot of positions don't even have
so
people
important, bro. So important, man.
So important. It is, man. And so we need to really just do like a grassroots movement. That's why I did a Turn New York Red thing here in New York, Turn New York movement. Let's get a grassroots movement going on. Let's get the action behind the words. We as Trump supporters, we know we can get out there and get our voices heard, but now it's time to get out there and go on offense, but not in a violent way. We can go on offense without being violent. Right. Martin Luther King went on offense with the civil rights movement. So there was a lot of people ending of slavery. They were going on offense to end slavery. A lot of people on white, black, all races got involved with there. So there's ways to go on offense and get things done and bring change without burning down buildings or pillaging or looting or being stupid, And so I wanted to also talk to you about something that's really going on, affecting a lot of people, man. And we touched on this last night. We were just talking a little bit about it. And that's, what are your thoughts about the COVID passes that some companies that want to implement them on travel, and how is travel being affected down in Florida? Because I know
so the vaccine passports. So DeSantis had already said that he wasn't going to go for it, and then he backed that up by signing, at first it was an executive order. Now it is Florida law that businesses are barred from that all businesses in Florida are barred from forcing vaccine passports. And so what happens is, you get people who are like, oh, well, what about the rights of private businesses? And it's like, every business that is here in the States, they are licensed by Florida to be allowed to operate in Florida, even if it's a chain industry whose headquarters is in Wisconsin. If they have an outlet in Florida, they have to be allowed by Florida. Florida will still say you have to have a license here. You don't just come here, just start, just open shop. Hey man, so we're just gonna do business in Florida. Like, no, you have to go through the channels, just like just like any other business. You have to go through the channels. And people think that, oh well, no, because they're like, well, they're not a business that started in Florida. It don't matter. If you have a branch in Florida, that means you are doing business in Florida. To do business in Florida means that you will abide by the laws in Florida. And even private businesses still have certain advantages. Like a private organization has advantages that other companies don't. You can do things that other ones can't. You get certain benefits. You get certain tax exemptions that others don't get. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, you follow the law like everybody else. And they try to say, well, what about the right to refuse service? And, and I looked into that because I was tired of people bringing it up to me. I'm just be real. I was tired of people bringing it up to me and me having no real defense for it. So I said, well, there's got to be something. I said, it's got to be something that doesn't make the mask and the vaccine mandate coincide with the no shirt, no shoes. So I looked it up. I said, well, what is it that's different? There has to be. So I looked it up, and it said any company, any organization does reserve the right to refuse service. However, so long as that right to refuse service does not trample on discrimination. So they could say no shirt, no shoes, right? But they can't, and they have the right to refuse service for that. But because I'm wearing a MAGA hat, they can't say, because of your MAGA hat, you can't come in here. That actually is discrimination. You have told me that because of the lettering, you have told me that because of the political affiliation that I'm not allowed in there, you are directly discriminating. Now, where would that go in court? Well, that depends on a district attorney and a judge who wants to even take that case, who wants to even bother. That depends on a lawyer who wants to take it that far. But that is technical discrimination. When they have signs on business doors that say, So there's like a few things with the signs on the doors where people are breaking the law. There's one where it doesn't matter your medical condition, you still got to wear a mask. Okay, but if I have a medical condition that says I can't wear the mask, you're telling me I'm not allowed to come in, and you're refusing service to me, and you're telling me I'm not allowed inside of your store. So you are directly discriminating against me. Now, where they try to get through the loophole is they try to say, well, but we have other avenues for you to get service. We could do curbside pickup or delivery. But it's like, but you are refusing service to me coming inside. So you are telling me that I cannot, that I am not allowed in your establishment because of my medical condition. Like, you directly told me that. So that is discrimination. Again, it all falls on finding the right judge who wants to take the case, finding the right lawyer who wants to even present it, you know? But those are cases that you can take because those are that is direct discrimination. They don't reserve the right to just refuse for you not wearing a mask. Like, I seen one guy, oh, well, if they want you to wear a clown suit, then that's what you got to do in order to get in. I said, no, they can't just do stuff like that. No, there's certain things that stops them. And so when DeSantis said, he said private businesses are still allowed to do things under the law. And he made that clear, under the law. So if the law says you can't be stopping people from coming in without wearing a mask, well, then that's that. So, and whether you're a private business or not, you're licensed by the state, period. So you abide by the laws of that state, you know, of the head of the state. Now, if the particular laws say, okay, say for instance this, right? Say if the law that the governor wrote is against the Constitution, well, then you can argue, like, you know, like the guy with the what was it, the gym out there in New York. So what they were doing to his gym was unconstitutional. Oh, yeah, that's why he kept his gym open, because he's like, even though I may be licensed by the state and the state has now made a new law, he's like, the thing about it is the law is unconstitutional, so the law is null and void. In those cases, it was different, and that guy can kind of fight against the law, because one could say that's a law that is really null and void anyway. It should have never even been set in place because it was illegal to do so. But nothing that DeSantis did was unconstitutional. So there's no getting around that, you know? So
no.
Yeah, man. But then we got the cruise lines, and, you know, and he already said, you know, the cruise lines are not going to be doing that either. They're not going to be, but then one of the Norwegian cruise lines, that guy, I forget his name, I'm sorry, but he stated that he is still going to force people to do that they're going to have to wear masks, and his employees and passengers are all going to have to show proof of vaccination. And he said if it's so much of a problem with DeSantis, then maybe he just won't be doing his cruise lines out of Florida. And it's like, you ain't the only cruise line, bro. Like, I like how these people think, oh, well, we'll take our business elsewhere. Go. You ain't the only one. And sometimes you may be in the way of an opportunity for somebody else. Maybe somebody else can thrive and come up in your place, and you just in the way. So maybe you need to leave from Florida. You know?
And they know that, and they talk a good game, but like we're talking about the talkers that won't back it up with action. I guarantee the ones that are talking, they won't get up and leave, man. At the end of the day, even they can complain and all they want, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to, okay, are you going to leave or not? They're going to stick around. So that's why we got to do what the leftists.
A lot of that stuff is just a standoff, man, to try to get DeSantis to back off. You know, that's all that stuff is, man. You know, it's like a standoff, you know.
It's a leftist mob. It's like you don't bow down to the mob. Like, anytime the mob comes at you, I don't care if you are a governor or you're an actor in Hollywood, if they come at you with cancel culture or whatever they're trying to do, just, I'd troll them, to be honest with you, but you can ignore them. You could just, you know, come back, hit them with facts and evidence on your side to school them and shut them down. There's a lot of things you can do, but the last thing you do is bow down to them. I tell all the time, if you give the leftist mob an inch, they'll take the whole football field, and you don't have nothing.
Oh my God.
So,
yeah.
Don't even give them an inch. Don't even give them a freaking inch.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you, bro. So that's the thing, man. And I just, I didn't even think about what you were saying, because I was just thinking about for well, since yesterday, all I've been thinking about was, man, these clowns are trying to give DeSantis a problem. But I didn't think about the way you said it, man. A lot of them are all talk, but in the end, they're gonna let up, because all it is at the end of the day is a standoff. Oh yeah, we're gonna get DeSantis to back off because we're gonna tell him, because he's gonna see how much his state hurts without the cruise lines. Like, we can create our own cruise lines, bro. We look, did you forget who just moved here? We have Trump cruise lines while you playing. Like, we got MAGA cruise lines. Like, you want to keep playing this, like, hey, Norwegian can move on, and we'll just and we'll have the Trump cruise lines, maybe a DeSantis cruise line, who knows, but it's like Florida does have some rich people here. So, and we getting people who are moving here from other states too. Like, people can bring their cruise lines here. So, like, you ain't the only one, bro, in existence. There's thousands of cruise lines, thousands, probably millions. There's so many other avenues. So he's a spoke, he's a small spoke on a giant wheel, So, I like how they try to, they gonna show the governor, like, I'm gonna show you. It's like, you ain't gonna show nobody, because first of all, he's doing the right thing. And there's a lot of other people who think just like him. They don't want to get a vaccine just to get on your boat. So the thing about it is, a lot of people don't want to get the vaccine just in order to do stuff. So it's like, no, you're not, because the problem is, you give it to them on the cruise lines, then every other business in Florida is going to say, well, what makes them different to be able to do that? Why not us? It's like, no, so you can't give in on with nobody. And they're trying to make that, they're trying to use a loophole now. Well, but we're on international waters. Yeah, but you are still in the state of Florida. And our game wardens here say you can't just be riding around and just be doing business without actually having legitimate cause to do so. You still have to abide by certain laws. There's still laws. There's still laws. Nobody can just roam free.
Let me tell these radical leftists out here. These leftists, not even radical, this leftist mentality right now. They used to tell them, like, the utopia does not exist. In reality, we have laws, and these are how laws work. And it seems like they forgot all of that. When they get the little temper tantrums, they seem to forget all common sense and laws and reality. So it's crazy, man. I don't know, man. I don't know how you
common sense is not so common.
Yeah, facts, especially here in New York City, man. I tell you that, man. First, the city of pseudo intellectuals, so many degrees, but yet no common sense. But that's a whole different ball game there. But yeah,
I got a question for you.
Yeah, definitely, man. Go ahead, shoot.
Okay, so how tall are you?
I am 6'1". 6'1".
Okay, so you've probably done this before, but if you could, for me, because I just want to hear you say it, because I just love hearing you talk about it. Just like, tell me your experiences going out there with these leftists, because not everybody is as tall as you. So what do you get? Like, do you get the ones who are way shorter than you? Like, do you get the little shorties who feel like they could step to you until they see you in person? Oh.
Now, I'm gonna tell you, the way it works with the left, with me, they all like to act tough online over Facebook or whatever. They, everybody's a online thug or whatever.
Yeah.
And I school them online. And, I don't even, like, they want to get, I don't even go personal with them. Oh, I can mess you up if I see you. I don't do none of that. I just go right. It's talk politics. And online, I school them. And a lot of times on the left, I school them to the point, and these like these student intellectuals. And I not only not school them, but I tell them I'm schooling them. So when I actually get them facts and evidence, proving my point on certain subjects, I then come and I'll hit them with, oh, I'm schooling you right now. Because I know a lot of them, they're so about their college degree. So I'll school them and tell them I'm schooling them, which upsets them. And then once they get upset, then you see the hateful rhetoric come out. And that's online. And a lot of it's racism. I hear it, and it's like, hey, man, you're being racist. You call me a coon. I'm not racist. I don't. Well, you just told a black man he's not being black enough. That's being racist. you know, and they're like,
Yeah.
So online, I get that sometimes, not as much as I used to now because I have a bigger following and base now. And when people say something stupid, a million people would say something to them to shut them down. I don't need them to, but I'm glad they do because it's just I'm got to deal with the BS. But in
Yeah,
reality,
that is cool. Yeah.
yeah. But in physical and reality, I hardly compared to people who I have friends on in the part of the MAGA movement who are women. Some are like really short, shorter people, and they tell me stories about stuff they deal with while on the train because I never wear a mask. I never wear gloves when there's a mask and glove things. Everybody knows my videos: no mask, no gloves, faith over fear. I never wear a mask. So I've gotten side looks and stuff like that, and only a couple times people have said anything to me, and anytime physically face to face, it's been Karens. They not bringing race into it. Just being honest with you, I'm saying who I've seen. It's liberal white women. They're the ones who they throw shots at me and they think they can get away with certain things like face to face. And it's not they know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
They see how I carry myself, how I act, and they know I'm not going to do nothing stupid to them. So if they say something crazy, no matter what they say, pretty much, I'm not going to threaten them or physically get physical with them, nothing crazy like that.
Like you're not gonna bend, you're not gonna bite the bait. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why they say what they say. But I do get it from them from time to time, but that's not very often. Like last time it happened, I was some woman walked up to me. He was like, "Where's your mask? Where are your gloves?" And I was like about to hop on a train, and like I was with my Jewish friend Bear, and I looked at her. I was like, "Faith over fear." I'm sorry. I said, I said no. I said my body, my rights. I was like, my body, my rights, and I kept saying it to her over and over again. And she was like, "Oh, like okay, leave this guy alone." And I'm like, "Sound familiar?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, didn't mean I've been hearing this for the last 3 years. Like I can't say it." So I'm
like, mind your business, lady. Like, see,
and now I'm also about to get a shirt. Shout out to Dennis Rodman, and I saw him rock the other day where it said, "I don't follow the plan." He's like, "My body, my rights."
I saw that.
He
I
saw
saw
the needle.
you post that, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, that's it. As soon as I saw that shirt, I saw my man, the Worm, hashtag Dennis Rodman. He posted it. I said, "Let me go buy this shirt, man." So I went and bought it. So I'm getting mine soon. So I'll be doing a video. You guys check it out soon. I'll be rocking that shirt on a video talking about this pandemic more than likely. But yeah, so yeah, man. So I just, it's not too bad for me, man. Like I said, I got an Asian friend of mine. She's a woman. She's constantly getting threatened, and that's what I'm trying. That's why I know how weak the left is because women. I know that I see them like elderly people who are with me. I see them when they come and confront us, they'll have their women in the front row and all wearing masks. So say, for example, if you are a MAGA and the people in the front row start pushing you or somebody throws a punch at you or throws glass at you or whatever it may be, and if you're a man and you defend yourself and you throw a punch or whatever happens and the cops come and they take the mask off and you just punched a woman, you don't even realize you did that. And that's why they do it. They put their women up just for that reason alone, just for them to be pawns, just for them.
Cowards, man.
They're attacked. They are cowards, man. They're cowards, man.
They are sick, bro.
Cowards. They're weaklings. There's not a term for how pathetic they are. They are the most anti-American, beta soy boy, estrogen body producing, just weak, pathetic. And this is the people that are trying to take control of this country in a political way. These are Dr. Fauci's of the world. And I tell people all the time, these are the people that were picked on in school who would, when the teacher left the class, they would snitch on all the kids. And when the teacher came back and who did what. And, they were these wimpy kids. And now these people have college degrees and they got a little bit of power. And they're obsessed with having control. And they just think they can control people. And that's why they act in the way they do. It's not about equality. It's not about Black Lives Mattering or Me Too and women's rights. It's about controlling you. They want to control you. And if you haven't seen that in your face right now with this fake Joe Biden presidency, I don't know what else you got to see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right there for those who want to see it right there. This is what they are about. They'll do whatever it takes to get that power, including still an election. But that's a whole different ballgame,
Yeah, man, it's a mess, man. It's a mess. It's just it's an S show, is what it is, man. And these people have been doing this foolishness and they think that they're getting away with it. And I'm paying close attention to Arizona, man. I'm hoping that Arizona pulls something out because Arizona pulls that out, then it's going to pop the lid on other countries, which we already know what happened. You know what I mean? Like we already know exactly what happened. I don't need to see the end result of Arizona, but I do want to see accountability. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I want to see accountability before we move on. I want to know that our elections will be secure. I want to know that all that we are doing, it's like when you have secure elections, then you feel like the things that you do are not for naught. They're not just, you're not just wasting your time. It's like, am I doing all of this just for them to keep on stealing stuff? Does it even matter? And it's like, well, and it always does matter, but we need integrity so it can continue to matter.
I know, I totally agree, and I think that's a good note to kind of end on, because what the whole point is. I know a lot of Americans out there who are listening to this, and with everything that happened with this last election, they're feeling down. They're feeling, what is this? What do we even try? Why didn't we even go out and do elections and campaigns and all this? If it's all going to be stolen and taken away from us. But the fight is not over. Like I said, Arizona is going to be a big state to see what happens when it comes to what's going on with the election fraud issues there. Once all the information comes out, I have a good feeling other states are going to follow suit. Like they are saying in Michigan, it's happening there. So once that happens, and we already know, we pray. We already know the truth, though. Us, people listening, we know the truth, but we need the evidence to come out. We need it to say, now here's your facts and evidence. It's there, but we need it to be laid out in a court process where it's laid out right in front of you, every little fine detail, where no questions can be asked. It is what it is. The fact of the matter is this state was guaranteed to be stolen. And once that's said, and once that's in history books, then we can, it's already there in my opinion, but then we officially can put that asterisk next to this presidency. And once it's all said and done, if he even makes it through the 4 years, then we can cast it aside and get back to where we left off. And I, have a good feeling Trump's going to run again, the way he's been talking lately, the way he's been acting, and the way he is. He's not somebody who's going to take an L from Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, and be like, okay, this is where I'm just going to throw in the towel. Like, no.
Well, especially not a fake L. Especially not a fake one.
Especially not a fake one. But, so, 2024 is going to be a big year. I have a good feeling the president will come back and he's going to wreck business. That pendulum is going to swing back the other way. And he's not only going to come back and win, and I think he's going to have a stronger base in the White House than he had before, than he would have had in 2020 if he would have won. So this could, at the end of the day, end up maybe being a better opportunity for him to run again in 2024 and win that way than this to win back-to-back in 2020 and still be in that swamp in D.C. And, maybe we'll have that swamp a lot more.
We got a lot of GOP people to get out.
Yes, we got to get rid of those rhinos. It's a lot of people. Turn New York Red on the CRA video right now. Turn New York red. Let's get rid of these rhinos, man. And we're going to do it. And stay tuned. Come to our meeting on the 13th we're having, because we're going to be talking about what we're talking about in this right here, me and my brother Royale. And we're going to get it done on a local level in New York. And I know Floridians are going to get it done. So we're going to do it as a country. And as a country, we're going to bring change. So that's the last one I want to close out on. I want to thank my man Royale for coming on.
I can't wait to come out there, man.
Hey, man, I can't wait to have you out here, man. We're going to have a studio soon for this Christopher Wright show. We're working on that soon. So in less than a week, you might see my first episode in the studio, man. So come up here and visit. You're more welcome to come into the studio, man. And, always welcome guests. But I roll out the red carpet for you. I'll give you the Royale treat.
Oh man, that's cool, man. Yeah, man, I can't wait to come out there. It's been, it'll be good, man. It'll be historic too, and that'd be pretty cool, man. I appreciate you bringing me on here. I appreciate I appreciate the invite to New York, the opportunity to come out there and do some crossover politics. I was telling you just a few weeks ago, that was one of my goals in politics, is to work with different people in different states and do some crossover things, maybe speak at some events, maybe go on a podcast here or there, just do anything, to connect with different people, share some information, receive information also that I can always bring back home and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely, brother. Definitely, man. Well, it's good having you on again, man. Like I said, it's always a pleasure, brother. And like I said, I look forward to having you come on in future episodes, and we can discuss a lot more what's going on in the country in terms of the MAGA, conservatism, whatever crazy Hollywood celebrities, whatever it may be. There's a lot to talk about constantly, man. And it's like I said, it's been a pleasure, brother. And I look forward to having you on for future episodes.
All right, man. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man.
No problem. Anytime, brother. And like always, everybody out there listening, God bless everybody out there listening, and God bless the United States of America. Peace out.
Amen.